Good Friday evening to you all. Chase here with a live update on this wintry weather situation and also the cold that's moving in. So I'm gonna take a few minutes, actually a few seconds here, to share this video out to as many as we can, and I will be right there with you in just a minute. So let me take a minute here. In the meantime, while I'm getting this live video shared out and stuff, let me know where you're watching from and share this video and let me know what you're seeing here as far as ground reports are concerned, whether it's snowing, not snowing, raining, whatever that may be. And again, we will get started here in just a minute. Again, for those just tuning in, send in where you're watching from or a report of what you're seeing as far as like wintry weather is concerned. Give me just a second. And we're good. Alrighty here, so here is the current radar situation here. I'm also broadcasting this live on my Chase Bryant Weather YouTube channel, so if you want to watch it over there as well, I got it running on there too. But right now at the moment, we got some areas of some light to moderate snow flurries and snow showers, mainly north of Chattanooga, places like McMinnville, Spencer, Cookeville, Smithville, Sparta. You guys have been getting most of the activity here so far. And it's even trying to sneak in a little bit down into parts of Grundy County. But if you're watching from there, kind of put in the comments what you're seeing if you can. So see if this radar image is correct for you. But again, some of this down here to the south here, especially once you get down to the Squatchy Valley and east, a lot of is being eaten up by dry air. And so far, dry air has been winning the battle down in here so far across the southern half of Tennessee, south of 40. So far, the dry air has been sort of winning the battle on the moisture side of things. And also, temperatures have not quite gotten below freezing, especially from Chat and south. But that will change, though, during the night. And especially as we get more of this precip that's going to try to funnel in from the northeast throughout the night. So let's get right into the modeling here and just go through this here. This is as of the latest update here. So we're looking at this at almost 6 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Eastern Time on Friday, January 30th. And then as we go through the next few hours, you will see that it won't be snowing everywhere, but there will be places at times where it is. And this will actually start to pick up a little bit, especially here across East Tennessee as we go towards the midnight hour here. So I know it's very small at the top, but there's midnight right there. So as we get closer to midnight, we should start seeing things pick up more. And notice here as we get towards the overnight here and into early Saturday morning, you may start seeing some banding here, like for example what this is showing here, some of this heavier blue. That's the potential for those heavier bands that may form and cause a location or two to possibly either go toward the very top of the forecast totals or even maybe go a little bit above. Not everybody will get that, but there is a possibility that you may get a little bit of banding. Everywhere else, though, will be mostly light to moderate the way I'm seeing it here, and also beyond that. And then that's going to continue kind of on and off into Saturday morning here. So there's sunrise roughly. So that's about 7, 8 a.m. You see here, got some light to moderate snow. And once you get up here closer to I-40, the moisture will actually be tapering off. So you get up I-24 towards Nashville and things will actually be tapering off up there by sunrise. But around here, it looks like we'll have anywhere from flurries to light to moderate snow showers. And then that's just going to be a trend pretty much on and off during the day. And when I pan this out and not pan it out, but go to a different run here, this is the 18Z run, which will go 48 hours. And I will kind of have to pause it here, so it will run for just a minute. But notice here as we get towards the afternoon here, we'll probably get a lull in this activity as this starts slowly pushing east into the Carolinas and eastern Georgia. But notice back out here to the north and west as we head into Saturday afternoon and evening, it does appear another wave's going to try to move in from Nashville and Kentucky. So there is a chance for some more snow showers and such as we get towards Saturday afternoon, evening, and night. And the interesting part about this is, and what I believe this is doing here, considering temperatures all day tomorrow are going to be in the teens and 20s, what tends to happen, especially on the backside of these low pressure systems, as they begin to move away, they tend to wring out, this Arctic air tends to wring out any moisture that's left over up in the atmosphere. So any moisture left over will likely get wrung out. And that's what this is doing a good job, at least I feel is doing a good job of showing. And For the one that we had earlier this week and such, it may be very similar to that in some locations, to where there will be some places that may get a decent amount of snow, especially in the higher elevations, especially if this were to verify. So there are two different opportunities that I'm seeing here. Again, one from pretty much from tonight through Saturday morning, and then potentially another opportunity of some flakes Saturday afternoon and evening through about early Sunday morning. Again, that's two windows of opportunity here. So whether everybody cashes in on one or the other remains to be seen. But I do believe that dusting to 2 that I projected for most of us, I do believe that's still on track. Definitely the dusting part. Not so sure yet about the 1 to 2 part, because that does feel like it's going to be more scattered as opposed to widespread. But I do feel confident in a lot of us getting at least a small dusting at minimum out of this in some fashion, whether it's through this wave later tonight into the morning or later in the afternoon into Saturday night. And the reason why that I mentioned the afternoon and nighttime event is because, again, as I said earlier, that Arctic air is going to do what it can on the backside of the low to wring out anything that's left as far as moisture is concerned. And that very well may lead to some more additional snow showers and flurries before it all finally wraps up during the day on Sunday. And hopefully we can get some sunshine here at some point that may help to melt whatever is on the roads or anything like that as far as like melting is concerned. But I will say, for those that do get that accumulating snow and everything, just even at a very light state, even at a dusting, be very mindful that you will probably have travel impacts of some kind, especially on secondary roads and etc. So just make sure that you're aware of that. We'll get to the cold in just a minute here, but I want to show you this. This really hasn't changed a lot, but I did adjust this. As you notice over here to the far right, mainly east of Athens and Cleveland here, you see this 2 to 6 plus inch range. That is mainly for the higher elevations of Polk County, Monroe County, pretty much almost all Monroe County, and down into parts of Murray County, Georgia, and the Blue Ridge Mountains. That's what this 2 to 6 plus is for, and that 6 plus is mainly for the higher elevations of those areas. So the higher mountaintops of Monroe County, Fort Mountain in Murray County, and also Big Frog and some of the other higher mountains in Polk County. That's where you could get that 5, 6 plus inch mark up that way. The rest of us, though, are looking at mostly this in the middle, anywhere from as little as a light dusting to possibly as much as 2 inches in some spots. Again, not everybody's going to get that, so don't always look to the higher number. Look into the range here. And then back out here to the west, once you get west of the plateau, so really from about, Winchester, Manchester, Woodbury, and west, you're looking at mainly just flurries to maybe some dustings in spots up in here. And that's actually worked out pretty well, because I did see on some of the traffic cameras that Murfreesboro got a little bit of a light dusting earlier, so that part has actually worked out. So far, this northern end is actually verifying as expected. It just hasn't reached the rest of us here just yet. It will take several hours for it to do so, because this system has actually slowed down quite a bit. I mean, it really has from what it was looking. I mean, earlier it was looking like, okay, the evening commute would be the part of the roughest time, at least the beginning of it, but now that's being pushed back later, closer to midnight here, so at least for the East Tennessee Valley and northwest Georgia. So that's the way it's looking here. And then once you get down here towards Sand, Lookout, even some of the valley areas of Jackson County, you're really not looking at much, but the higher elevations there may pick up a dusting. Some isolated areas may be up to an inch, but it doesn't look like a major deal down that way in that part of Alabama, but in really that part of the area. So that's kind of what as far as like the snowfall part, this is what you can pretty much expect. Minimum of a dusting. Some areas, I quote some, may get a little more if heavier banding develops. So again, as I said, dusting to 2 inches on average, but again, that 1 to 2 part will be in scattered pockets, especially those that get the heavier banding and such. So let's look here at the as far as the temperatures and all that stuff is concerned. Let me get off that for a minute. Let's actually look here at the temperature map. Take me just a second here. I gotta get this right on the right screen here. There we go. Notice as we go through the evening here, everybody that is above freezing down here from Chatton South, you're going to be below freezing here by midnight or a little bit later. So by the time we get into Saturday morning, notice all of our temperatures are pretty much in the teens and 20s. And then we should all, at least most of us, should all be in the teens by about mid-morning on Saturday. And unfortunately, we're not going to recover all that much during the day due to the clouds. So the clouds may just act as another blanket to keep things from warming too much, as temperatures, especially in the higher elevations, you're probably not going to get out of the teens tomorrow. So you'll be staying there. But while the valley may see low to mid-20s. And then as we go into Saturday night and Sunday, again, area-wide teens, maybe some upper single digits here along the plateau and some of the areas that do get some decent snow cover, whether it's a dusting or a little more, you may go down a little lower, because whenever you do have a decent bit of snow accumulation, even a light accumulation, that can actually allow your temperatures, especially when the wind's a little calmer, it can actually, sort of make it a little colder in that. So that's something to look out for going into Sunday morning. And then Sunday afternoon, the valley areas may get lucky and reach the low to mid 30s, maybe get a little bit above freezing, but the higher elevations, you're probably going to stay in the 20s on Sunday, and you likely won't get above freezing up there until Monday afternoon. So let's go down to the wind chills here, and then we'll recap the snow outlook and all that, and then I'll answer some questions. As we get into Saturday morning here, watch how these wind chills just tank, and I mean they tank. I mean, this is around 8, 9 a.m. on Saturday. Notice most valley areas are seeing wind chills. These are feels-like numbers in the single digits, and then the higher elevations are ranging from about -1 to -8 for wind chills. So if you do wake up to some snow on the ground in the morning and you got kids, you need to make sure that, number one, they're bundled up heavily. They have anything from gloves, coats, mittens, whatever. And make sure they don't stay outside for too long in the snow, because when you have wind chills this low like this, in the single digits to below zero, that's a problem, because after more than a few minutes, that's when you start getting the symptoms of hypothermia, frostbite, especially within 30 minutes. So you definitely don't want to be outside for too long in this kind of condition. I mean, especially when you have these wind chills. I mean, even if the temperature is in the teens to low 20s, when you add in the wind that we will have, the gusty wind that we will have on and off, that makes it feel a good 10 to 15 degrees colder, giving you these numbers that you see here that are in the negatives to the digits. So again, higher elevations will see the coldest wind chills, while the valley will also see some cold wind chills as well. So no matter where you are, you're going to have cold temperatures and a chance for some snow and some light accumulation. So let's recap things here real quick. We'll go through the modeling here one more time, and again, what I'll do is I'll go back to the 22Z mode here of this, so that way we can go forward with that. And here we go. Let me press on play, make sure that's set. There we go. So again, as we go through the evening and into tonight, again, there will be areas that stay dry for a while, but there will also be some spots that will have this area where there could be some snow falling at times, especially where you see this blue area up here. Again, the blue is what represents the snow. The dark and gray you see on here, that is just the map in the background. And the reason why I have it on the background like this, so you could be able to see the precip and also the cities here just a little bit better. So right in here, as you see here, the snow will try to move its way south and west just a little as we go into the nighttime here, as we get closer and closer to midnight. And then overnight into Saturday morning, especially from, we'll say, the plateau and east through East Tennessee, parts of Northeast Alabama, and North Georgia. That's where we'll have times of light to moderate and maybe a few bursts of heavier snow going into the overnight into Saturday morning. That should start wrapping up from west to east as we go towards the afternoon tomorrow, but I do see another wave forming to the north and west, and that around the backside of the low pressure system as we go into the afternoon, and that very well could kick off more flurries and snow showers as the Arctic air moving in wrings out all the remaining moisture, at least tries to, as we go into the afternoon and part of the night on Saturday. And then by Sunday, all the moisture is gone about that point, at least as far as precip's concerned. But considering that, and any of you that have snow on the ground, there's a pretty good chance it's going to linger around, because a lot of us are not going to get above freezing until Monday afternoon. Now, some of the valleys may get lucky and get above freezing for a few hours Sunday afternoon, but most everybody else is going to have to wait until Monday afternoon to get above that freezing mark. And the good thing here is, even though I'm seeing another storm system moving in as we get towards the middle part of the week, temperatures towards the middle part of next week are going to be warm enough to actually allow for mostly rain and just a chilly rain. So anything that be left over will be pretty much washed away by the time we get towards Wednesday, because that will be when the next precip chance is. And as of tonight, it's looking to be all rain. So we will warm up as we go into this next week. So if we do have any school closings, cancellations, I would believe they would be more for Monday and possibly Tuesday, especially in the higher elevations, depending on how this system evolves. But I would bank on some school closings and delays for at least Monday, but I feel pretty good for about midweek through the second half of the week at the moment as far as schools being able to return and such. So as temperatures will be warming each afternoon into the 40s. So again, there's light at the end of the tunnel of this. That's the good thing. There's light at the end of the tunnel if you don't like the cold and all that. Granted, it will still be chilly, but it will not be as bad as it will be this weekend on the cold side of things. So with that said, let me get you back over here to the recent run of radar. You can kind of see here, mostly along the 111 corridor and points west and a little east. That's where this little area of snowfall is falling at the moment, at least according to radar. Now the southern part of this, closer to Chattanooga, may not be falling because it's dry air eating it up. But areas to the north of the city are pretty much getting a little bit of that right now. So let me answer some questions here, and we will go from there. What about southern Squatchy and all of Marion County? Pretty much as little as flurries to a dusting, but there could be some spots that if you do get a heavier burst or two, you could easily get upwards of an inch or two, depending on how that all sets up. So really, this is going to be what this is going to be about tonight and into tomorrow. What this is going to be about is about placement. So where will this snow plume form? Where will the burst form? That's going to be the big thing. So wherever those set up, those are going to be the spots that have the potential of seeing an inch or more. Otherwise, everybody else will be mostly in that flurries to dusting to half-inch range. Is downtown Atlanta going to be bad? In Metro Atlanta, you guys are under a winter storm warning. I did see where the totals, and I did see the boat totals get bumped up a little bit down that way for 1 to 2, at least in the downtown area. So I do believe that at least especially in the eastern suburbs, where there's probably going to be a lot more down that way, that's where the worst of the problems are likely going to be. And especially as you get up into the Carolinas, because I'm going to tell you right now, South and North Carolina are going to get hammered, and Gatlinburg is likely going to get a foot out of this. And I'll be very surprised if Gatlinburg doesn't, because this is a classic setup for a big smoky snowstorm up there in Gatlinburg. We will be so excited when spring arrives. Yes, I agree with that, Laura. I definitely agree with that. I mean, it's especially with how cold it's been this winter and everything else, for sure. I mean, we had that little warm spell in early to mid-January, but then ever since it's been quite cold. And then, let's see here. Fredonia Mountain Dunlap, 32.7 on Lookout Mountain. What do you think East Polk County will see? Well, y'all are in the winter storm warning. I'll pull up the forecast map here. Y'all are probably going to be more in that 2 to 5 inch range, but the higher mountain peaks over there, you're probably going to wind up getting, especially in those higher mountains like Big Frog and up towards the Cherryhala, Skyway, Monroe County. Those areas may get upwards of 6 or more inches up there. But as far as East Polk County is concerned, you're probably more in the 2 to 5 range out there towards Ducktown and Turtletown. Do you think the roads in Manchester will get bad tonight? Good question. That will vary on if anything sticks. Now, if nothing sticks, then you'll be A-okay, but I would definitely be careful, especially on back roads, bridges, overpasses, anything that looks a little moist, because that's where, considering temperatures are going to be falling well below freezing and it will stay that way for a while, that's where slick spots might be. So even if you don't get accumulating snow and there's some moisture on roads and stuff, any of that can turn slick. So that's something to watch out for. What do you think Decatur will get? Dusting on the low end, 2 inches on the high end is what I'm thinking for that area. Whitwell, pretty much same range as Decatur. What is that orange spot where southeastern Warren County is? On the radar there I showed you there, that would have been that technically that would mean sleet, but there's no sleet involved here. I think that's just a glitch on the radar. So this is all pretty much snow. That's the good thing with this. There's no freezing rain. There's no sleet, thankfully. So this is all snow. The Arctic air, thankfully, is a lot deeper this time, so that's going to allow more snow than any of that ice stuff that we were dealing with last week. So that's the good news here. So no freezing rain, no sleet here, thankfully, with this one this time around. Is it snowing in Decatur yet? Doesn't look like here on radar. No, not quite, but it may pretty soon. This little plume is actually holding together pretty good as it moves across the northern half of the Squatchy Valley and points east towards Dayton. But again, as I said, ground reports will be pretty crucial out of that to see if that's actually reaching the ground. So it does seem like a little impulse is coming your way as far as this is concerned, but precip's concerned, but whatever not. Snowing in Hillsboro. Thank you for that report, Reba. Let's see what else. Make sure I'm not missing anything else. Kingston, Tennessee. Someone's watching from there. And I'm not seeing. We have some flakes in South Pittsburgh. Erica says I was just told it's snowing in Kimball. And also hoping for snow in Tracy, but getting discouraged. Well, the good thing here, Erica, is we got a long way to go. I mean, this is really just getting kicked off. We got a long way to go. I mean, this is a slow-moving system, so there are some opportunities. There are multiple opportunities here, really, between now and Saturday night. So really, the next 24 hours to cash in on this cold air moving in to get this moisture in here. The problem. That's going to be a battle here, especially when you get into these temperatures as we fall into the 20s and teens here eventually over the next 12 to 18 hours or so. The big thing is going to be that dry air. Because what can happen here, and I've seen this happen many, many times in the valley, where that dry air comes in and eats up that moisture and robs you of a decent snow down there. I remember one in January of 2018 that has somewhat of a similar setup to this in a way, where it looked like we were going to get 1 to 2 inches in that one. And then the dry air monster came in. Pretty much, I'm calling it the dry air monster. It came in and ate a lot of that up, and we only ended up with like a dusting to a ½ inch. And that was about 8 years ago. So I'm not saying the same thing's going to happen here, but the difficult thing about these kind of systems when you're dealing with a dry, fluffy snow is that it's a little more easier for dry air to sneak in the mid-levels and zap and cut down on how much falls. And that's a very critical part to snowfall forecasting, especially here in the South, and especially with all this topography, this different topography landscape we have here, is that the valleys can kind of almost act like a bit of the mountains here, Mont Eagle Mountain such, they can kind of act like as a block and keep all that moisture from coming in, especially if it's coming from due north. So that's something that I'm watching. That's always a possibility, and I'm not ruling that out and all that. But right now, at the moment, I'm still thinking the dusting to 2 is still on the table. Little's a dusting, 2 at the most. And then once you get east of I-75, so think Athens, Cleveland, Dalton, east of that area especially, along and east of that area, that's where, at least in our area, where the heaviest accumulations are going to be. And then there could be some isolated pockets along the plateau in parts of Grundy County, Van Buren, basically the usual mountain spots. There could be some isolated pockets that could also see some higher amounts if we can get some heavy banding to form. See if I'm seeing any new comments here. Will it snow in Soddy Daisy? I do believe so. It may be later. You may have to wait a while for it, but really considering that most of this is this is going to be more of a night and morning event the way things are looking. There's a pretty good chance that you may have to wait until around midnight or just after for that. But really a lot of people are going to wake up Saturday morning either to a decent amount of snow or not much. So we'll just have to wait and see how that goes. Stevenson, Alabama. Not much down that way. Probably just flurries. I can't rule out a sporadic dusting down that way in Jackson County, but it looks like the higher elevations of Jackson County will be the most favored. So basically Sand Mountain and maybe up towards High Top and Skyline on the plateau in that part of Jackson County as far as accumulation is concerned. Flurrying in South Pittsburgh, flurries in Marion now, snowing a little in Piney and Van Buren County. Will it hit Grundy tonight or be in the morning? As I'm seeing it here, pretty much it's pretty much fair game from this point forward. So anytime from anytime here, pretty much anytime from tonight through tomorrow morning, and then again as we get towards later in the day and into Saturday night, that's going to be another window of opportunity as that northwest flow kicks in and really kicks in, and that could end up spurring up more snowflakes here as we go towards the evening hours on Saturday. So that's something that I'm watching here as far as Saturday's concerned. But as far as tonight is concerned, I mean, really anytime as we get closer to midnight and beyond, that's going to be really the area that we are going to keep tabs on for possibility of more snow showers and flakes. Gatlinburg, y'all are probably going to get hammered up there. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, Gatlinburg is going to get a good one out of this. I mean, Gatlinburg, I'm thinking y'all are going to get up to a foot. I mean, this is the perfect setup for those guys. I mean, for Sevier County and Gatlinburg, this is the perfect setup for a big snowstorm up that way. I mean, everything's coming together up there. So I will be very surprised if they don't have at least 10 inches on the ground 24 hours from now. I mean, they're going to get quite a bit up there, and especially also as you head east into the Carolinas. East Ridge near the Catoosa County line, it looks like you got some flakes that are going to try to move in here over the next hour or two, but that's going to be one round, but there will be more that comes later in the night as we get closer to midnight and into the morning hours of Saturday. Sparta, I have seen that up that way. Sparta, I have seen that you guys gotten a little bit of light accumulation. Cookville looks like they've had a little bit more, but Sparta has had a little bit too. But additional snowfall will be likely at times during the night and into the morning, and possibly with a little bit of northwest flow action from the Arctic air squeezing out the remaining moisture during the afternoon night on Saturday as well. So with that said here, considering I've pretty much... Hold on, let me answer this one more question here. How's it looking for a Deckard? And I actually do have radar on here, so this is the composite loop I do have on here for radar. But Deckard right now, you guys don't have anything going on really in Franklin County or Coffee County, at least at the moment. I mean, I do believe you will see some flakes at some point later tonight. Now, whether it will stick that far west of the plateau, I think that's the most uncertain part, especially once you get west of Mont Eagle in particular, out that way. So, once you get off the plateau and towards like Tullahoma, Winchester, Shelbyville, that area, I'm not really looking at much out that way. As I put on the snow forecast map, let me put that on here one more time before I sign off here. You guys are looking more in the flurries to dusting range out that way. West of the plateau, so that's the way I'm seeing it for you guys. Guesses for Bradley County, out here to the east. Again, Bradley County's in a very interesting position here. I mean, right along and east of I-75 is going to be likely where the heaviest total's set up, so you're basically right on the line between that dusting to 2 and that 2 to the 6 inches for the highest elevations east of you, but really that 2 to 4 really for the valley. So you're right on the line of that. So it really could go either way. But for Bradley, you're going to be right smack dab in the middle of all that. So I would say there, as little as a dusting, but for you guys, considering you're close to the edge of that line, especially Cleveland and East, some of you may get up to 3 inches if you get a heavier band. And as I said, that's a big if. So really for the most part for Bradley, mostly dusting to 2. But let's be real, if that snow plume out to the east from that low shifts a little farther west, you may overachieve. So it's going to be a very close call for Bradley County, and same thing for Athens as far as where that heaviest snow sets up locally. So let's see. Rising Fawn, again, mostly light stuff there. Again, flurries to a dusting down that way. What do you think it'll do on Lewis Chapel? About the same range. Not flurries, but dusting to up to 2 inches. And in fact, on this map, there's a little bit of a hot spot right up in here where some spots may get up to 2 inches up there on Walton's Ridge and even in parts of the plateau. So, again, dusting to 2 up that way. Athens and Dayton, roughly again that dusting to 2 range, but Athens may get a little more. So there's a chance that Athens, considering you're a little bit closer to the Smokies out here, you may get a little bit more than Dayton. Alright guys, with that said here, I'm going to go ahead and sign off here. I'll have a written post up here for you guys here sometime between, and again, the new modeling is going to come out here in about an hour, so we'll have some fresh information there that I'll have for the nightly written post and all that comes out between usually about 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern-ish. So be on the lookout for that here in about an hour or two. So until then, I will see you then, and I hope you guys have a good and safe evening. See you soon.